What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I hope you guys are well and warm, kicking and fly today because, well, it's Friday. Well, in fact, it's actually Sunday. Today's video was supposed to be released on Friday, but Wednesday's video got pushed back to Friday because YouTube didn't allow it to come out until later, and finally I just released it. So needless to say, happy Sunday, guys. This was supposed to be released Friday, but circumstances as they are, here we are, and I'm glad you guys could make it. Hope you're having a great weekend. I wanted to get into a conversation in regards to genetics that I think are very tough to grow. In fact, probably some of the toughest to grow. Grown all these strains, and in fact, I've kind of noticed that there is a trend amongst them that kind of make these highlight as a special group of genetics. So, genetics that I think are meant for the experienced grower. But before I get into that, I want to remind you guys that From the Stash has released the Stash Blend. Rob, Chris, and I have been working on this product for well over a year, and we think we have perfected what we consider the perfect sauce. It's got your mycorrhizae, it's got your polymers, it's got your beneficial microbes, your fungus. This has got everything you need aside from your base nutrients. It's available for pre-order right now, including Canada. So if you follow the link, thestashblend.com, I'll put a link below in the first link in the description. Check it out, pre-order yours, and let us know. Hit us up on Instagram at From the Stash and let us know that you pre-ordered your box or your bag, and we'll show it off. Now, genetics that I would suggest are more geared towards the experienced grower. Number 1, Pineapple Express. This is a genetic that has continuously eluded me. Now, I haven't really found a whole lot of cooperation online in regards to others that have had struggles growing this particular genetic, but Pineapple Express has consistently been problematic for me. It is very heavy prone to stress, which leads to Hermes, which makes it very difficult to get the entire plant through the entire grow. This is going to be a cross between Trainwreck and Hawaiian. Two strains that generally are relatively easier to grow. I know Trainwreck has been a bit more difficult to grow, but when you put them together with the Pineapple Express, I find that you really need to take it easy when it comes to her training. She needs the perfect environment, the perfect amount of moisture, and that'll help you alleviate the stress or alleviate the problem of having a hermaphroditic plant later in the process. I've grown this plant twice, and I've hermied it both times. I'm not sure if this is something that you've had an issue with, but this is generally speaking one of the harder strains in my experience to grow. So if you're going to give it a shot, make sure you give it a little bit of patience and time and understand that this one won't grow exactly as you hope. Now, number 2, Amnesia Haze. Now, of course, this one kind of sounds like it's going to be a little more difficult to grow because it's a blend of some of the best land races, and of course, generally speaking, land races are going to be longer in flowering time. Some of them bush up like crazy, and that's no different for Amnesia Haze. This thing grows wild, sucks nutrients, and takes a long time to flower. You're going to want to make sure that you've got a very scheduled, very dialed in feeding regimen and training regimen. This is an outdoor genetic. So when it's growing indoors, she's going to stretch for the lights, she's going to soak up as much nutrients as possible, and generally speaking, she's going to flower forever. I believe that you can get up to 14 weeks of a flowering period with this genetic, and a lot of that is because of the genetics of the land races that are within it. So, Amnesia Haze, although a coveted genetic, it unfortunately will present problems to an inexperienced grower. Number 3. Now, this kind of goes in tandem with all diesels, but sour diesel in particular is a very tough genetic to grow. This is a genetic that is prone to disease, prone to stress, and this is something that you need to take into consideration the entire time throughout the flowering process and the vegetative process. I had sour diesel in my garden a few years ago, and I stressed the first one out really quick, trying to overtrain this one. Dialed it back for the next grow that I had, and it was a lot easier to succeed. Just recently grew a Dreadnought OG from Ocean Grown, and they also highlighted before I started growing it that the diesel was prone to stress and to take care. So with that in mind, I also had the largest harvest I've ever had off of a single plant off of that Dreadnought OG, which has that diesel lineage. Why? Because I took my time. I understood going in it that this plant was going to be prone to stress, so I tried to take it easy. A little bit of stress every day rather than a whole bunch of stress at any one given time. So keep this in mind, and I think Diesel might be a great genetic for you. I got to admit, when it was done, it's probably one of the greatest smokes I've ever had. So don't be discouraged by possibly some traits that might not be the most favorable. Now, before I go any farther, I want to give a huge shout out to the channel sponsors. Spider Farmer. Spider Farmer has just recently released the SE4500. This is a big light in a small package. This is going to be great for a 2x4 flowering space or a 3x5 veg stage. This is a 430 watt LED in a package of only $465. You're getting a great light for a great deal, and you can even hook it up to the Spider Farmer controller to get you all kinds of wireless control. You can dim it, you can set it, you can time it, everything you need in one location. Go over to spider-farmer.com. Consider checking out the SE4500 and use promo code PIGEONS420. You'll save a few dollars off at checkout, and you'll help support the channel along the way. Great lights for a great price. Thanks, Spider Farmer, for being a sponsor of today's video. Also want to give a shout out to AC Infinity. AC Infinity has been doing a fantastic job at providing great products at an affordable price. I'm using their inlines, I'm using their clip-on fans, I'm using their humidifier, which is one of my favorite pieces of equipment in the garden, and you can too. If you go to acinfinity.com, use promo code PIGEONS420, you'll save some money off at checkout. You can also thank them for being a sponsor of today's video. Thank you, AC Infinity. Now, for the final two genetics that I think are the hardest to grow. Number 4, Trainwreck. Now, hear me out. Trainwreck is one of these plants that if grown indoors will explode with growth. She just wants to sail towards the light. She's also got those land-raised genetics tied all in her, and because of that, she's going to be a longer flowering time. She's going to explode towards the light, so you're going to have to do a lot of pruning, a lot of trimming, perhaps maybe even topping, whatever you need to do to ensure that that plant stays under control. The majority of these plants are very tough to grow because of the amount of attention that they require. You don't want them to stretch too high. You don't want them to hit the lights. They're going to require a lot of food, and Trainwreck is no different. So hands-on with good vigilance will go a long way when you're growing Trainwreck. Now, the final genetic that I think is one of the hardest to grow is actually because of its genetic itself, where it's from in the world, and that is chocolate Thai. This landrace is a jungle to grow. Now, the original Thai, some will tell you, is impossible to find. I've had the opportunity and the pleasure to grow Thai sticks multiple times, and I've had the same problem. She's a very lanky, very tall, spindly genetic, and if not, structured or controlled right away, she's going to get too top heavy. She's going to become very spindly. She's going to stretch up to the light, and she's not going to bear you the most amount of fruits for the effort that you're going to need to put in. So start early. Train low, keep squat. Understand that you're not going to get the fattest, massive buds off these, but these are going to be quality flowers at the end of the day. Speaking of flower, you're going to be waiting about 14 weeks. Yeah, a lot of these land races coming out of the eastern part of the planet are going to be coming out of warmer, longer summering. Can I say that? Longer seasons, longer summer season. Yeah. Longer season of summer. That was a little absurd. And then therefore require a little bit longer flowering times when grown indoors. So take that into consideration. Although I highlighted a list of 5 genetics that I think are difficult to grow or geared towards a more experienced grower, anybody can grow it. It just requires time, effort, energy, and patience, and a little homework to make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into before you spend the money on quality genetics. Maybe gear something towards yourself that may be a little easier to grow. And if that's the case, consider checking out my video where I look at top genetics for new growers. And I kind of highlight some things in there that, might just be a better suit for you. Go check it out. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoy the conversation on genetics, I want to hear from you. I've actually got a few more of these videos in store that I think are quality tidbits of information that'll help us gear our way towards getting genetics that are better suited for us. Thanks for listening to me today, guys. I appreciate you washing your hands. I don't know. Go get your stash blend, stashblend.com, and I'll check you out next week. Peace.